Raising private money. How do you get it? How do you find the people that will lend you the money for your deals? That's what we're talking about today on the Sub2Deals Show. Hey, Sub2ers, welcome to this episode of the Sub2Deals Show, where we talk about all things subject to. Now, occasionally we may talk about other real estate investing topics, but it's always something to help you with your real estate investing business. If you're listening to our podcast on Apple or Google or any of the other podcast platforms out there, we'd like to invite you to watch our podcast on our YouTube channel. You can go to sub2tv.com. That's SUB, the number 2, TV.com. You can watch our podcast, see our smiling faces, and watch all the other videos that we release on our YouTube channel. We release a new video just about every single day. It's something to help you with your real estate investing business, and we would love to have you as a subscriber. If you'd like to learn more about creative finance, we'd like to invite you to go and download our free guide on creative finance. You can go to sub2deals.com. That's SUB, the number 2, DEALS.com/CFG. And you can download, gosh, that's about a 50-page book on creative finance. Several different ways to buy houses with no money, no credit, no banks and all that stuff. So go check it out. And if you want coaching and you're on a budget, you can check out $7coaching.com. I will answer your questions every week, teach you how to buy property subject to for about the price of a latte every month. It's an unbeatable value. If you find coaching or training that's less expensive, let me know so I can sign up. That's $7coaching.com. Guys, we're talking about private capital today. We're talking about investors, JV partners. Every investor I know is always looking for money. Where do I get it? How do I raise it? And we have an expert on here today that's going to talk to us about that. Dave Debeau helps real estate entrepreneurs to scale their portfolios by attracting investors, JV partners, and their capital. Instead of having to go out and chase after it, he attracts it. He created the money partner formula process that raises 6 figures or more in 6 weeks or less by getting the right investors coming to you. Dave is the CEO and founder of Results Enterprises, Inc., the money partner formula, which offers a proven strategy to help clients find their ideal investors and quickly raise the capital they need to grow their real estate portfolios fast. Dave is an author and a sought-after speaker, and we're pleased as we can be to have him today. Dave, welcome to the Sub2Deals Show.
William, it is my pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show. It's always a lot of fun being on your show, having you on my podcast as well. And Sub2, it's kind of near and dear to my heart, my friend. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I got my start in real estate investing doing the whole creative low money, no money down type deals, including subject to type deals. So yeah, great to be on the show.
Yeah, man, we're glad to have you here today. And gosh, talking about a topic that I know everyone's going to be interested in learning more about, how to get people that'll lend you money for your deals. It seems like every investor that gets started is broke. So how do we find these guys?
Well, yeah, you hit it right on the head there, William. There's only so much we can do under our own financial steam. I know your whole shtick is around subject to deals, but even then, quite often, we were talking a little bit before we press record that, you might need 10, 15, 20 grand or more to give the seller to get the deal going. They usually want to see some skin in the game. Mm-hmm. So if you run out of those 10, 20, 50 grands to come out of your own pocket, then we have to start thinking about other people's money, OPM. And that's what this is all about. So lately these days, what I'm really, really enjoying talking about is I put a whole little thing. I'm going to put a book together around this. It's called Be Seen to Get the Green, 8 Ways to Raise Your Profile and Raise Capital. So if you want, we can kind of talk about that if you like, William.
Oh, absolutely. Let's get going. Well, tell everybody first about yourself and how you got started doing this, and just a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, so I started investing in real estate in 2003, doing these creative low money, no money down type deals. That's how I got started, following good old Ron LeGrand. That was my initial foray into real estate investing. Took a few years off. I've got a bit of a marketing background, so I worked with a up and coming Canadian real estate guru, kind of the Canadian version of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Worked with him and his companies for about 5 years. Took some time off of active real estate investing. Then I jumped back in and started doing what are called client first rent to own deals. Find a really good prospective tenant buyer, go house shopping for them, buy them a house, and then lease option it to them for 3 years or so while we help them get organized for financing to purchase that house. So that's when I kind of first tiptoed into the whole raising capital side of things, because I quickly ran out of my own cash and credit to buy single family homes, and I needed to start partnering up with people. So that was about 2010 that I started with that. Had massive failure to start with, William, when it came to the whole raising capital side of things, because I did everything wrong. I waited till I had a deal on the go, because I'd heard all these gurus say, hey, just find a good deal and the money will find you. Baloney. That's all I got to say about that. This is family friendly, so that's well said.
Right.
But I tried that. And I remember, dialing for dollars, just desperately scraping after any cash I could raise, networking, schmoozing, elevator pitches, spamming everybody I knew on email with that. Wasn't big on social media. It wasn't really big then, so wasn't doing that, thank goodness. But pretty much all of that stuff that I tried didn't work, and I lost a really good deal. And that's when I sat down and I said, gave my head a shake, and I said, there's got to be a better way than all this, sham wow night infomercial style salesy stuff. So that's when I started applying some smart marketing ideas around this, and very, very quickly raised capital for deals. Got out of the single family home business, started doing this with multifamily properties. And since 2013, we've been helping other real estate investors really to crack the code on raising private capital.
Right. Okay. So if I'm a new investor, or even, I guess, an experienced investor who's never raised private money, what steps do I need to take to get started? What's the first thing I need to do?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question, William. So it boils down to a couple of things. First of all, for somebody to invest 20 grand with you or 50 grand, whatever it is that you need, that person needs to know you, like you, and trust you with their money. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Otherwise, it just isn't going to happen. I don't care how good the deal is. Know, like, and trust. That's the basis. So what we always encourage people to do, William, is I've got this whole 9-step process down here, but I'll just distill it for you. Number one thing is we got to have a target group of prospective investors that we're going to focus on. And I'm going to recommend to all of your followers and listeners that the first people we should focus on are your friends, family members, coworkers, business associates, people from church, civic organizations, real estate clubs, whatever. Right. People that you have, and write this down, a pre-existing relationship with, right? Because that is going to be the easiest, fastest, and safest private capital you can go after. Okay. So again, a big mistake I see a lot of people making is they go out there and they just put everything out on social media looking for investors for this deal. And I'll cover my butt here. I'm not a lawyer, an accountant, or a securities guy. I'm a real estate investor and a marketer. I'm sharing my understanding of things, right? But when you do that, you're breaking the law. You're crossing the law with the securities, and you're just asking for a lot of trouble. And a lot of people do it and they get away with it until they don't. But you don't need to do that. Right. Let's really just focus on, hey, let's target the people you know and focus on communicating with them in an intelligent fashion, right? So that's kind of the basis. Create that target group of people. Then you want to get the word out. You don't want to just start hitting them hard with, hey, it's William. I've got deals. Have you got money? That's going to turn a lot of people off. You want to warm them up a little bit first. And then you want to make sure that you got a really good way of showing people what you do that's going to get them enticed and it's going to get them enrolled in your deal. So that's what we call your big check pitch deck. You want to make sure you got a good slideshow presentation to show people. And then the marketing is all about constant, consistent, edutaining communication so that you're landing in their inbox on a regular basis, at least once a week. But it's not just over the top real estate stuff. It's edutaining, a little bit educational, hopefully a little bit entertaining. I know you do a great job with this, William, but we need to remember that our target group of potential investors are not all real estate investors like ourselves. They're regular people who aren't necessarily investing in real estate. So that's kind of the basis of all of that. Once you get things up and rolling, you can automate a lot of things with a really good investor-focused website, CRMs, automated emails, this kind of things. And then once you've got that all set up, you start, scaling up using webinars and continuing on with that communication over time. And if you follow this process properly, it's very, very simple to raise your first or your next 6 figures in a matter of weeks, and even 7 figures in a matter of months. You just got to do it right.
Right. And do you feel like most people have the ability to raise 6 figures just out of their phone contact list and the people they deal with on a daily basis?
Yeah, you gotta do it right, but it's really, really very straightforward. What we found, we've worked with hundreds of clients over the years, William, and we find that most of our clients easily have access to somewhere between $1 and $2 million worth of private capital within their existing network before they even need to expand out of that.
Right. Okay. So let's do a little example here. Let's say that I'm working through my list of contacts, people I deal with, and I say, Joe cuts my hair every 4 weeks.
Yeah.
He owns the barber shop. I know him. We've been talking for years, and I think he's probably a likely candidate to be a lender for me. How would you approach somebody? Let's just say Joe. How would you approach him?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what I try to do, William, is I try to attract people instead of pushing myself on them.
Right.
So what I would do initially is I would add Joe to my list of investor prospects, and I would warm them up a little bit first. We call this a warm-up campaign with a few different emails. They're just kind of catching people up and letting them know what we've been up to. We assume we haven't seen the other person for a while, and kind of get them all on the same page. Right. Then the next thing that I would do is make sure that Joe's kind of getting that regular drip of communication from me, whether that be a video log, a blog post, electronic newsletter, drip, drip, drip. They're getting a few things from me. And then here's the real trick, William. This is a shortcut. Once you kind of got that stuff set up, then there's a process I call the ninja strategy. The ninja strategy. Ooh.
Right. that sounds scary.
It is. If you look at the little picture back there, that's a little ninja guy there. So here's the trick to this, William. And believe it or not, I think I got this from network marketing or MLM or something like that back in the day. It works really, really well. So what you do is you pick 10 or 15 people, including your barber, right? Who are likely to do you a favor.
Right.
You send them a quick little text message. Let's say I was sending this to you. I'd say, hey, William, it's Dave. I put together a short little presentation about what I'm doing with real estate investing. I could really use a second set of eyes to have a look at it. Okay. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just really looking for some feedback. It'll only take about half an hour. Can you help me out? I send that out to you and 15 or 20 other people. And what we found is you're probably going to get somewhere between 80 and 90% of those people saying, hey, sure, William. Yeah, I'm happy to help you out. And then you either jump on Zoom with that person, or better yet, meet them for coffee, buy them a coffee. And then you walk through your big check pitch deck with them, and you do it like a practice run. Like you just kind of fumble and bumble through it. You get their feedback. Take it with a grain of salt. Most people don't know anything about presentations or anything like that, but don't argue with them. Just thank them very much for it. And then at the end, as you're wrapping everything up, you say something like this. Hey, William, now this might not be a good fit for you, but do you know anybody else who might be interested in these kind of subject to deals.
Right.
And then you zip it. Okay. And you're going to get one of three responses. The person might go, hey, William, now that I see what you're doing, this is pretty cool. Yeah, I'd like a piece of the action. Awesome. There you go. You get them enrolled, get them signed off an expression of interest, something like that. Get them going on the process, and off you go. And is that going to happen all the time? Of course not. Most of the time, you're going to get somebody saying, well, no, not really interested. Can't think of anybody right now, but if anybody comes to mind, I'll let you know. That's okay. Because here's the deal, William. When time and circumstances change for that person, if you do a good job of staying in touch with them, who are they going to think of when they get their next mutual fund statement back, when they get their next bank statement back, when they see how much money they're not making on their investments, when you go through the next down cycle with the stock market, then they're going, I got to do something different. Well, that's right. William's doing that subject to the real estate stuff. I should give him a call. Or on the other hand, the third choice is they might say, hey, you know what? My brother-in-law, George, he's been complaining about not making any money in the stock market. This might be a good fit for him. Awesome. There you do. You get a warm introduction. If you do 15 or 20 of these, William, there's capital to be had there very, very quickly.
Right. So, yeah. So most of the people that you're attracting, you talk about raising capital. You also talk about JV partners. So, I mean, once you attract these people, is it then just a matter, you can work with them in different ways. They either have just money to lend, or they can partner with you on something. I mean, I guess anything you can negotiate, you can do.
Exactly. It's all about attracting people with money who want to invest one way or the other with you in your deals.
Right.
Whether that's a joint venture relationship, whether that's a private money lender. So it's all basically around debt or equity is what that kind of comes down to.
Sure.
You're in your scenarios, people don't need to qualify for financing, so you don't have to worry about credit. But it's going to depend on how well you know the person, how well they want to be secured on the property, that kind of thing.
Right. One of the points you make in some of the different things that you need to be doing when you're out attracting capital is so removed from what we've been saying for years. I wanted to talk to you about this. You said it's critical to have a high quality business card.
Yeah.
And that's important when you're raising your profile and finding private lenders. And I want to hear about why that's important from that perspective. We've always said the business card, and I've told people this for years, because realtors typically have a glamour shots picture and all of this stuff on it. And I said, I want the most obnoxious card possible. I want it to be bright orange or some kind of yellow as the sun. I want it to be seen from a long way away. Yeah. But you have a different take on this when attracting money. Can you tell us why?
Well, yeah. Well, William, I agree with you 100%. When I was doing my I Buy Houses business, I had the bright, obnoxious tent card, I Buy Houses card. It was beautiful. I love that. It was so ugly. It was beautiful, right? I love that style of card for finding deals. But we got two different target demographics we're going after here. One is finding motivated sellers that will sell their houses to us subject to. We need to whack them upside the head, grab their attention with that buck ugly card. But on the other hand, we want to be a little bit classier when we're talking to the other demographic, which is investors or potential investors. So we actually do agree. It's just two different markets we're going after. So when it comes to talking with investors, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is the kind of card I'm talking about. This is a very nice, thick plastic card with gold foil inlay. These things cost about $2 each. They're made in England. I can't even get them locally. But the whole idea is when I give a potential investor my business card, they go, holy crap, that's a nice card.
Right.
And they're going to feel guilty about throwing it away.
Sure.
And when they take a look at the card, it's not going to scream realtor. It's not going to scream mortgage broker to them. They're going to see the card. It's going to look classy. And hopefully they're going to remember me and what I do. And I just keep it super simple, like real estate entrepreneur at the top, my name, phone number, email address, website, investor focused website, focus there on the card. So just keep it simple, but keep it classy.
Right. You mentioned something earlier
Yeah.
that I've heard a lot since I've been in real estate, and I was just curious. You said you used to do all of the stuff, the elevator pitches. Do you recommend an elevator pitch? And if you do, what should it be?
Yeah, that's a great question, William. I, back early in the day, I took all the training and stuff like that, sales training and all this stuff. And everybody's teaching, hey, you need to have an elevator pitch. And for your listeners that aren't familiar with that, I'll give you an example of one. When I was doing the rent to own deals, I had a pretty slick one. So, William, why don't you just pretend we just met and ask me
Sure.
Hey, Dave, what do you do?
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Dave. My name's William. What do you do?
Well, thanks for asking, William. I help deserving local families who can't quite qualify for a mortgage right now get into the home of their dreams years earlier than they could otherwise, while at the same time getting my investor partners and myself an above average return on our money. How about you? What do you do? Okay, so anyhow, that was my 30-second commercial. And as far as 30-second commercials go, it was all right. It followed the whole format. It sounded good, that sort of thing. And I haven't used that one for years.
Oh yeah.
But bottom line is, William, how does it sound to a normal human being, like a regular person?
Right.
It sounds like a commercial, right? It sounds weird. It sounds fake. It sounds like Dave / Sham Wow guy. It's so what I did that for a while,
Right.
but I kept getting just weird vibes from people like, ooh, like it was like too over the top for them. So it works well in network marketing situations, maybe at the RIAs and real estate investment clubs where everybody's doing this stuff. But when you're talking to regular human beings, so here's the cool thing, William. Years ago, a friend of mine, a fellow real estate investor up here in Canada, actually, she was also a trainer, and she was teaching everybody about 30-second commercial elevator pitches, the whole bit. She had hers, but same idea. She just felt weird using it. So one day, I think she was getting ready at the starting line of a 5K race or something like that. And she was mixing and mingling with some of the other runners. And the conversation came up and somebody said, hey, Julie, what do you do? And something just kind of snapped in her mind. And she said, I'm not going to do the damn 30-second commercial. And she said, I collect houses. That's all she said. I collect houses. The other person, what do you mean you collect houses? Like the porcelain houses you put up on the wall? What does that even mean?
Right.
But it solved the problem there, William. It started the conversation. It got the curiosity up. The other person was leaning in, wanted to find out more versus trying to fire hose somebody with too much information too fast. Right. So then it just led into a natural conversation. So that's the best. That turned a 30-second commercial into a 1.5-second commercial. So that's what I recommend people do. Don't steal Julie's. Come up with your own version of something like that just kind of grabs people's attention.
I totally agree. Even I'm a coach and I'm a teacher, but even having to do little blurbs for products and things makes me feel really awkward. I'm not much of a salesperson.
Yeah, me neither.
So the whole elevator pitch thing always made me feel uncomfortable. So years ago, when people would ask me, what do you do, if they weren't in my circle and didn't know, I started saying I solve real estate problems. And I thought, well, man, that's a little intriguing. It sounds a little dangerous. And I do so much better with, well, what does that mean? Well, it depends. If you've got a house to sell, we can get it sold. We can buy it from you. If you want to invest money, we can get you a great return. If you want to buy a house, we sell houses with seller financing.
I love that. I solve real estate problems. That's beautiful. Right. That's a beautiful
very
2-second elevator pitch. Good for you, man.
Intriguing. I thought it was rather intriguing.
I thought it was. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So that's what I recommend. Yeah, the commercial is a little much. You have to pique their curiosity, where they'll ask you questions.
Exactly. It's not all about me, right? It's like pique that curiosity.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
We do radio ads in this market, and our ad focuses, and I say this because we've had at least half a dozen people that we've gone out to meet calling from the ads that have pointed this out to us. They brought it up. They talked about it. They said, I want you to know your ad is so much better than your competitors, because we've got one guy that runs ads in this market too. His ad focuses on himself. It's, I'm so and so, I do this, I want to do that, I want to do these things. Ours focuses on the listener. Do you have this problem? We can help. Do you have this problem? We can help. It's all about what you've got going on and how we can help you solve it. So I think that matters to people. It's
well, that's all anybody really cares about. What's in it for me, right?
That's exactly right.
The big thing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so good business cards. Another thing you mentioned is dressing well and having a nice appearance.
Yeah. So this is kind of flies in the face of what most people are doing these days, myself included, a good chunk of the time, which, you know, since the pandemic, we've all gone super casual, right?
That's for sure. Yeah.
But what I recommend is when you're having a conversation with somebody about capital. So in other words, you're trying to enroll somebody, get them to invest in your deal, then I'm just going to recommend that you dress up a notch or two. And the reason is it's going to show the other person respect, right? You respect them enough to kind of dress up a little bit for the occasion. And it's going to get respect for you from the other person. It just does. And I think this works even better these days now that everybody's 247 casual Friday, right? If we go a little bit now, you don't have to go over the top. And these days, you know, when we're doing so much stuff online and on Zoom and whatnot, here's a little trick for everybody. All I do is I wear my normal clothes, which I tend to hang out in a t-shirt and shorts or sweatpants or whatever. And I just have a blazer close by. When I'm going to jump on William Tingle's podcast, and I know it's going to be video, I throw the video on, I throw the blazer on, and voila, I'm set. You can't see that I'm rocking it out with sweatpants underneath this and slippers and whatnot. It looks, and I look decent. I look presentable, right? Now you have to dress up a little bit more if you're meeting somebody in person. Nice slacks, nice shirts, nice shoes, that whole bit. But you don't have to go overboard with the vest and the tie and all that kind of stuff. But business casual, I highly recommend.
Right. Okay. So dressing a little bit nicer, having a high quality business card, having something ready to go when someone asks what you do. What are some other creative ways that you can get the attention of potential investors or JV partners without sounding all me?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think, you know, once you've kind of dialed that in, you got the basics down. Well, now it's time to step things up a little bit. And one of the things I absolutely love doing is tapping into the other OPM. So we all know that OPM stands for other people's money. The other OPM is other people's media. So if you can get interviewed by somebody on their podcast, on their YouTube channel, on a Facebook Live, if they got a Facebook group or they got a lot of Facebook friends or followers, that is awesome. Now you're able to piggyback on that other person's influence, right? So William, for example, you have spent years doing an amazing job of building up your followers and your listenership and your viewers on your YouTube channel. When I get to come in and do an interview with you, well, that's an instant shortcut for me. Same thing for you. When you come on my show, that's an instant shortcut for you to my followers, listeners, etc. Well, there's no reason why, you know, you and I, as what I call mom and pop real estate investors, can't do the same thing. But here's the big difference. It's not all about just trying to reach William's audience. If I were getting started with raising capital, my focus for my first few podcast interviews or any kind of interview would really be to kind of show people that are already in my sphere that I'm an expert. Does that make sense, William?
Oh, yeah.
So I would take the the fact that I've been interviewed on your podcast, and I would let people know that on social media, right? So one of the tips I always give people when they're coming on my show, because our show, we've kind of changed focus these days. We're we're interviewing what I call everyday people investing in real estate.
Mhm.
So when somebody comes on my show, I say, hey, you know what? You should really squeeze all the juice out of this opportunity that you can. So when you've been booked onto the show, let people know, hey, put a little social media post there on whatever your platform of choice is, if it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Hey, really excited. I'm going to be interviewed on William Tingle's show in a couple of weeks. Can't wait. A little bit nervous about it, but really looking forward to it. I'll let you know when that happens. Okay. So it just kind of creates a little curiosity. Then we jump on the show. Make sure, here's a big hint, take a screenshot of you and the host, and then post that screenshot on social media. Hey guys, had a great time being interviewed by William on the Sub2Deals Show. I'll let you know when it comes out. It was a lot of fun. Okay. Then when the show gets released, then you make another big deal about it. So there you go. You get 3 whacks at the cat from that one podcast opportunity. And it's not just for getting exposure to William's followers. That's great. But it's also to let your folks know that somebody sees you as an expert. They want to interview you on their show. So again, I don't know about you, William, but back early in the day when I was first getting started in real estate, I was kind of like the best kept secret amongst my friends and my family members. They kind of knew I was doing something in real estate, but didn't really know what or how or why or anything like that. If I had have been smart and done that back then, I could have said, hey, just give you, if you're interested, I got interviewed on this podcast. You can check it out here.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Another thing that you mentioned to be good for boosting your profile and attracting investors is to become an author. And I know when people hear that, they're like, oh my gosh, I could never write a book or do anything like that. But you'd be surprised. I think most people have a few books in them.
Oh my goodness, William. And it's so much easier than ever nowadays. Right. If you're watching this on the YouTubes, you can see behind me, there's like a whole bookshelf of books there. Right. Those are all books that I've either written or co-authored or been involved in or something like that. Yeah. A book is the ultimate authority builder, because that's where the word authority comes from, is from author, right? William must know his stuff. He wrote the book on it. He wrote the book on Sub2Deals, right? So it's just an instant it's an instant boost to your authority. Like, I've got all these books. It's not because I enjoy writing books. I don't particularly enjoy writing books. It can be a lot of work. But I do enjoy the instant status it gives me by being an author on a particular topic. Does that make sense, William?
Oh, yeah.
So, and then again, once you've got a book, instead of giving somebody a copy of your business card, that's fine. That's level 1. Level 12 is you give somebody a copy of your book, and better yet, you sign it and dedicate it to them. And it's going to be that holy crap experience for them. A lot of people have never met an author. Not that being an author is that big of a deal, but they've just never, it's a big deal to them, right? So I can't tell you how many times I've been at RIAs, real estate investment clubs, meetups, that kind of stuff. I got a few books. I don't try to sell them. I don't care about selling books to make money. It's all about a lead generation type thing. And here's the thing. You give somebody a copy of your book there, William, and they're not going to throw this sucker away, especially if you signed it and dedicated it to them. It's going to go on their bookshelf forever. For sure. Even if they read it or not, doesn't really matter. It's had that impact.
Yeah. It's funny, the things that, and just like you said, writing a book is really pretty easy today. You can hire somebody to assist you with it, with the editing and everything else. You don't have to do anything like that yourself. I was amazed when we started running radio ads at the number of people who think that, man, automatic trust. You're on the radio. You've got to be legit. We've had people say that to us. So yeah, for sure, a book would be a big help. Well, listen, you talked about a lot of stuff today, Dave. You talked about your PowerPoint deck that you need, your elevator pitch, the right business card, dressing a certain way to attract investors, writing a book. It sounds like there are a lot of pieces involved to being really successful at this. Do you offer training or coaching on that topic?
Yeah, we do. We're not so much training or coaching. We offer done for you services to help people set all of that kind of stuff up. But I think if you're open to it, what I would like to offer your followers and your listeners, William, is if they like the idea of being on a podcast and boosting up their credibility in the eyes of their followers to get exposure to new people, to do all of that kind of good stuff, then I would love to have your followers, if you got even just one or two deals under your belt, I'd love to interview you on my show. So if that's okay with you, William, I'd like to invite people to book a time to be a guest on my podcast.
Oh, for sure. Now, can they book that at your website?
Well, I got a whole new website just for that. It's called daveinterviewyou.com. daveinterviewyou.com. You can check that out and see if that makes sense for you. And it's just a great way, especially if you've never done a podcast before, to get started as a podcast guest, because I've got a lot of podcaster first-timer guests on the show. It's always a lot of fun.
Okay, so daveinterviewyou.com. And you're looking for people who, if they've done even one deal, they can come on your show.
Yeah, you got to have some experience. You don't have to
Right.
be as experienced as William, although I love having William on the show, that's for sure. But yeah, we're really looking to interview what I call everyday people investing in real estate. I find that for our listeners, there's a lot of resonance there. They get a lot of value out of hearing people that are at a same level or a step or two above where they're at.
Okay. So we've got Dave's website here. You can go to learn more about him. And we've also got daveinterviewyou.com. If you want to be on the show, if you bought a house or you have some experience in real estate, go over there, get signed up, and let him interview on his podcast. So that's great.
That's awesome. Thanks, William.
Yeah. Okay, Dave. So ton of great information on how to get started attracting JV partners and investors. Anything you'd like to leave everybody with today on how to get started, or maybe some first steps to take?
Well, I think the first step is to understand that even if you only have one or two deals under your belt, you are, in my opinion, ready to start working with joint venture partners and private capital. Because if you've done one or two successful real estate deals, not including your own house, I'm talking about investment property type deals, you are ahead of 95% of the general population that's never invested in a property outside of their own house. So, yeah, you got a lot to offer. Don't think that you have to have decades under your belt or hundreds of deals under your belt before you start doing this.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Dave, thanks so much for joining us today. A ton of value for everybody. Everybody wants to raise money. You're the guy they need to talk to about it. And we appreciate you offering a platform for these guys to come out and be an expert, being interviewed by you. So thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, guys, that is it for this episode of the Sub2Deals Show. We appreciate you joining us today. If you found value, if you enjoyed the content today and you're listening on Apple, how about giving us a 5-star rating and review? It helps other people find the show, and we'd really appreciate it. And again, if you are listening, we'd ask you to go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel at sub2tv.com. It's SUB2TV.com. And if you're watching already on our YouTube channel, the numbers tell us that about 75% of you guys aren't subscribers. So hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified when we release new videos and new episodes and our Facebook Lives that we do every week. So get over there and do that. So glad to have you here. Until next time, get out there, talk to some sellers, and buy some houses.